Hi everyone, I'm back, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I am pretty familiar with, and you might be familiar with it as well, but you may not even know what's happening. And that's anxiety. Anxiety is something that I've struggled with my whole life. I've been treated for it in the past with medicine and with talk therapy and other things, behavioral, to help me deal with my own stress. And once I became a parent, I realized that some of my anxiety that I had, my kids were having the same issues. And it would be great for me to say I have all these super wonderful answers to give you. I really don't. But I do have some practical tips that might get you guys through the next few weeks or months or however long we're all on lockdown with our kids and other people that live with us that we love, but it's a stressful time. And first thing I think that generally we have to do is accept that it's going to be stressful. You're going to have stress in your life. You're going to be anxious. It doesn't matter how strong you are. You're going to be anxious about the changes and the unpredictability of everything that's happening right now. So once we get past that, we can move into kind of defining what it really is. Usually when I tell people, oh, I have generalized anxiety, they'll look at me and they're like, you're the calmest person I know. And what they don't understand is that anxiety isn't this. It's not, oh my gosh, it's not that. It can be that, but it's not always that. And sometimes people with generalized anxiety look very calm on the outside. We often are perfectionists and people pleasers, so we put on this facade that we're doing great and come on, let's all be happy. And inside we're a mess, an absolute mess. But what anxiety really is it's just the body's natural response to stress in our life. It can be a physical stress, it can be a perceived stress, something that's not even real, but we perceive it and our body responds in the exact same way as if it was an actual event happening to us. And it causes an elevated cortisol levels and some other things that happen with our brain chemistry. And once that stays at a high level for too long, it becomes difficult to deal with. And that becomes a generalized sort of anxiety that you need to address. And sometimes you need to address it with a doctor who can prescribe something to help you. Or if you're lucky enough, you can work through it on your own and change your behaviors and your reactions to those stresses and ultimately be more in control of your life. When you're in a situation, any situation at all, so let's just take the one that we're all in right now. We're all stuck at home. We don't know what the heck's going on. We're hoping for the best, but it's looking bleak sometimes. If you turn on the news, it's like, oh my Lord, I can't watch this. It causes our brain to shift out of our thinking rational brain and into our fight or flight brain, that instinctive brain. I gotta save my family. I gotta go buy all the toilet paper. Whatever it is, we're panicked because of the uncertainty, because of the stress. Again, real or perceived, it's there, and we're responding to it. So what we have to do is we have to recognize that that's happening. That when we're making those sort of irrational decisions or we're freaking out about stuff, sometimes it's because we're not able to really use our rational side of our brain because that instinct has taken over. But as I said before, a lot of times people don't understand what anxiety really is. And so it's hard for people who don't deal with it on a day-to-day basis to even recognize it when they see it. For me as a parent, even though I've been dealing with anxiety for a long time, when my kids started showing their anxiety, I didn't notice it right away. I was like, gosh, these kids are so annoying. And once I kind of recognized that it was something that I wasn't able to deal with on my own, all of a sudden the light was on and I was like, oh jeez, how did I not know this? Me of all people, I should have been able to recognize it. Well, forgive myself for being an idiot and just move forward. And that's kind of what we did. So when my kids were really little, their anxiety looks a lot different. Anxiety looks different in everybody. It looks different from me. We could be the same age. We could have a similar life experience, but my anxiety manifests itself differently than yours. And it's like that for every single human on the planet, and different age groups respond different ways. So let's talk about that. Because if you're home right now with your kids and they're little, their anxiety is gonna look a lot different than your big kids do, or you if you're dealing with it. So with little kids, they don't have a grasp of language, so they're not gonna come to you and say, "Hey, mom, you know what? I'm really stressed out right now. Let's talk about it." They're not gonna do that. They're gonna look a lot like a really crabby kid. They might be super anxious, but they can't tell you, so they're clingy and they just want you to hold them all the time. And you're like, please, because your anxiety's high and you just want to disconnect. It can be difficult to find that, that connectedness when everyone is stressed out. So recognizing that clinginess is a response to their own anxiety, that could be a touch point for you to then say, okay, he needs me to hug him. I don't really want to do that, but let me get to a place where I can, and then I'll hug him, or I'll hug him first and then I'll deal with my own anxiety later. That might be better, because clingy kid who doesn't get his fill of hugs becomes tantrum kid. Tantrums, of course, all littles, under 4s, under 5s, under 7s, they all are going to throw tantrums. But if you notice it happening more frequently, or it's new, they haven't had a tantrum since they were 2 and now they're 4 and they're throwing themselves on the floor, those are big indicators that their anxiety is just creeping up and up and up and up. So watch out for that. Also, in little kids too, sensory issues. Everything smells funny. Everything is too loud, too bright. You're too noisy. Your breathing is, those sorts of things. Tags in their shirts or socks with seams. All of a sudden, they can't tolerate it. Food they used to love, all of a sudden, the textures, they can't eat it. Or they can only have a blue plate or whatever. These are normal toddler and preschool behaviors anyway, but again, if you see that it's happening more frequently, or it's a reversion, something they've outgrown and now all of a sudden it's back, you might want to consider that could be their anxiety spiking. Well, elementary age kids, they do all the same things. They might start throwing tantrums, and they might start not eating foods that they've been eating for years because suddenly they hate the way it tastes. They might start smacking their siblings for no apparent reason, and they cannot give you an answer about why they just knocked their sister upside the head. Because they don't. Even though they have a grasp of language, they don't have the understanding of what's going on in their brain. So talking to them about what anxiety is can be helpful. I'll get to some of those points hopefully quickly. These kids too, this middle-aged kids, like elementary age kids, their whole systems have been uprooted. Their waking up time is different. Mom and dad might be home. There's anxiety in the home because mom and dad are they're stressed out. They pick up on that. They know that that's happening. And all of a sudden they don't have their friends. They can't have their friends over. They can talk to them maybe on the phone, but a lot of these kids don't have those social networking connections, so they feel really isolated really fast. And that can definitely impact their ability to deal with kind of common stress and the abnormal stress that they're under right now. They're missing their friends. They're actually missing their schedules. If they're involved in sports and stuff, they're missing that. So these kids too, they may start to withdraw from you. Again, that's normal behavior. Expect that, but it might become more pronounced. And they might start to act out a little bit more, knocking their siblings upside the head or being really disrespectful to you. Expect that may happen, because that is an anxiety symptom, not an excuse for bad behavior, but it can help you identify what's going on with them. Well, your teens are in a different situation, most of them. They have a full understanding of the situation, in most cases, why we're all on lockdown. They also can tell you with their mouth what they're thinking and feeling. And a lot of them they still have that connection with their friends because of social media connections and texting and all that kind of stuff. Those bonds have been formed and they're pretty solid. So they may not be missing their friends so much. They might be missing the social aspect of being with their friends, but they can still connect. But their anxiety about, especially your high achievers. If you have kids who are dean's list, and they're really active in school, part of the school politically, all of that stuff, or the star athletes, those kind of kids, they are struggling, especially if they're in their last year of high school. They're worried that this is going to impact their college. They haven't been able to do their last game, or what about testing? I'm not going to get test scores. Some of the schools are canceling tests, and that's really scary for them. It may be hard for you as a parent who's dealing with your own stress to be sympathetic to them, but please understand that their whole world, their literal whole world, like them and just their little circle of friends in school, like that's all for them. You see the bigger picture. They are super myopic, and all of a sudden that is completely different for them. They're stressed, and they're going to be rude to you, and they are going to mouth off, and they are going to withdraw, and they're not going to want to talk to you. So what do you do for kids like that? Well, in general, all of these behaviors that kids manifest, they kind of look a lot like normal. Well, you know why? Because we're always dealing with stress. We're always having anxiety come into our lives. And those behaviors, those acting out behaviors or withdrawing behaviors, that's how a lot of us cope. And sometimes we never move past that into something that's more productive and helpful for relationships. So, what can you do? Now, I am going to tell you right away, I am not a therapist. I have no training certificates except for the School of Hard Knocks. And it's been a lifelong struggle for me. And I'm in a much better place today, thankfully, mercifully, than I've ever been, even in the midst of all this stress, which is kind of ironic, I guess. One of the things that's helped me, and this is not a paid advertisement, but I came across a man named Kurt Martin, and he runs a company called Calm University. And I listened to a seminar by him one time and did his program, and it helped a lot because he has a lot of practical solutions for dealing with anxiety kids and disharmony in the home. But the thing that really worked for me and for my family is that he told me that it's okay for me to focus on me first. That it's okay for me to accept my fault in the disharmony that was in our home. And it was okay for me to spend time fixing me first. Because once I fix me, because I'm the temperature gauge or the temperature regulator in the house, once I fix that, a lot of things naturally fall back into place. So one of the things that I had to do was apologize to my kids for acting like a 2-year-old, having tantrums because I was stressed out. And let me tell you, telling your kids, hey, you know what? I was wrong. I acted like an idiot, and I took my anxiety out on you, and that was wrong. And I really I hope you can forgive me for that. What I did with that is I just told my kids, hey, you know what? Mom's not perfect. She knows she's not perfect. You already knew this, but here I am accepting my responsibility, just like I ask you to do all the time. I accepted my responsibility. I'm making myself vulnerable to you. I'm asking you to forgive me, and I'm giving you the respect that I expect you to give me. I'm also telling you that I love you so much. I'm willing to humiliate, that's not the right word, but it's the only one that's coming to my mind, lower myself and put you in a higher position at that point in time, because you can then say, I forgive you, I love you. They want that, they need that. So doing those simple things changed my relationship with my kids a lot, and it's made our home much more harmonious over the last few years. Give yourself a lot of grace, a lot of forgiveness. Learn to respond instead of react. Those are key takeaways from his program for me and for my kids. It's been a lifesaver. But outside of that, that's if you have the time, if you have the inclination, you can check him out if you want to. What can you do for your kids right now? First, remove the stress. I wish we could. I wish we could, wave our magic wands and all this crazy would go away. It's not going to happen for a while. I don't know when. So what can we do in our home to remove the stress that's there now? Well, one of the things we can do is lower our expectations a little bit. I'm not saying turn into a slob. I'm not saying that you just, whatever, you don't have to do school, whatever, eat cereal, I don't care. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, if you're like a real stickler about their room being clean, why? Why are you like that? Is it because if someone comes over, you don't want them to see the mess? Guess what? No one's coming over. It's not going to happen for a while. So let it go a little bit. Give them a little bit more autonomy over their space for now. If someone does come over, then, hey, your room has to be a certain way. But just give them a little space. So remove whatever stresses that you can. Just look at your life and peel back a couple of those layers. Take that stress off of them. Another thing is just simply to be there for them. Be there and open. Make sure they know that you're stressed out. And make sure they know that if they come to you and talk about their own stress, their own thoughts, that it's not going to make you any more stressed. You're already there with them. You're in this together. So it's okay if you come to me. I'm not going to cry because you came to me. I'm not going to be in worse shape because you came to me. In fact, if you come to me and we can talk, now we're in a better position and we can help each other and lift each other up through all this. Being there and being honest about things as much as you can without scaring them is really important in a time like this, because these kids don't know what's going on. They only see snippets on the news or hear stuff from their friends, some of which is not accurate. And it's important for you to figure out how you want to talk to your kids about this and deliver that information to them without them getting scared. Some kids are more sensitive to it than others. You know your kids best, so you have to gauge that for them. But I tell you what ain't gonna work. Going up to your kid and saying, hey, I noticed today when you smacked your sister upside the head that probably indicates you've got some anxiety. Let's talk about that. They're gonna look at you like you've lost your mind, because quite frankly, I would look at you like you lost your mind if this is not a normal conversation for you. They're not gonna respond to that. They've never heard you talk like that before. So instead, be a watcher for a few days. See if they're struggling. See if they have some of those indicators. And then think about other ways to approach them about it. Hey, how are you feeling about this? Hey, I noticed that your sister's been bugging you lately. What do you think? Do you think she's stressed out about something? Why do you think she's doing that? What do you think we can do to make this better? Trying to flatten the curve, so to speak, of our anxiety is also a good plan to put into place. And then probably the last thing that you can do is to make time for them. It's really easy for us to get stressed out and put a lot of expectations on this time at home. I'm going to talk about this in another video, but we got to dial that back. You're not going to learn a second language and clean your entire house and cook 3 square meals a day and work from home and teach your kids at home. It ain't gonna happen. And you shouldn't try it, because that's crazy talk. So making time for them, going for a 10-minute walk around your neighborhood, that's okay. You're allowed to do that. Sitting outside, doing school, reading a book outside, do it. Get outside if it's nice. If it's not, well, do it in-house. Put in a movie and pop popcorn and take 2 hours out of your day to spend with your kids. That's okay. You can do that. You can actually do that. It's all right. Just sitting there with them, letting them talk about Minecraft. And you might be going insane. You're thinking about the billions of things you could be doing right now. But if you let them talk about Minecraft or Fortnite or whatever it is they're into for 20 minutes, which might seem like actual literal hell, it's okay. It's all right. Let them do that, because they're going to be like, Mom really is going to listen to me, even when I talk about Minecraft. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is there are some physical things you can do for your kids. These are going to sound like they're coming from a crazy person, but I will tell you that therapists who work with my kids suggested these things for me, and I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, that's just too much. I don't know. But we tried it, and it absolutely did work. The first thing, let them be upside down. Like for real, like upside down. Reading a book with their head hanging off the couch and their feet up on the back of the couch. I know you perfectionist moms are like, no, feet on the couch. Wash them first. I don't care, but let them hang upside down. It resets the brain. And but there's more. Jumping. If you have access to something like a trampoline or a bounce house or a Bosu ball or whatever, something like that that's bouncy, a slack line, that motion, that up and down bouncing motion, is another reset trigger for the brain. It helps to calm the brain, moving it from the fight or flight into a more rational space where your kids can start to use that thinking side of their brain again. Jogging does this too. Swinging also is a way it's that up and down. It's not quite as effective as bouncing on a trampoline, but it definitely does help. So those are some physical things you can do for your kids, and the kids love them. I mean, who doesn't love bouncing in a bounce house? I still love to, and I'm an old lady. And why? Because it helps reset our brain. So I hope this, I know this video is super long. I'm so sorry. I tried to make it quicker, but I run my mouth, so I apologize. I hope those are some helpful tips. I have a couple more ideas that might be helpful. I'll try to get those done and put them up for you. But again, if you need anything, just leave a comment here. I'll try to get back to you. I wish you guys all the best, and I hope that your family can work through their anxiety over this situation together. Praying for this, our whole nation, our whole world right now, because it's a little bit crazy and a little bit of a mess, but we can get through it together. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.